welcome to Brunch with Believers. So we are at chapter 4, and we have been talking over the last 2 weeks about being planted on good soil, and then last week on planting on good soil. And so this week I wanted to kind of go to the next step, right? There is a process to sowing, reaping, and reap and harvest. And so there's a step that we often talk about sowing and we talk about reaping, but we don't talk about the part in the middle, which is faith. So today I want to spend a little time. Now, this is a topic that could probably span a few weeks, and it may, I don't know. What I do is every week I just pray, God, what do you want me to share? What is it that you want me to talk about? And so I'm not sure if we'll continue to talk about this in length right now, or if he just wants me to share it from this perspective of the actual, where we've been talking about planting on good soil, right? And so our topic about faith is going to kind of be centered around the idea of the parable that Jesus shared in Matthew 13, 31 and 32. And that is, I'm going to read, again, I'll look away. He put another parable before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all the garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and make nests in its branches. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you today. Obviously, our goal is to make practical the spiritual for athletes and others. And I really appreciate the feedback I've received from some people telling me that they really get inspired by the things that I'm either saying or sharing, and I appreciate that. But in keeping with that theme of, you know, the planting and the harvest, the faith is the part that's in the middle, and that's the belief of things that are not seen, right? So think about it. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't actually see anything, but the part that's like the faith in the planting is more than likely what you're going to have to do is water that plant, nurture it. Even though you can't see it yet, you have to put water on it. So you got to be able to continue to believe that if I do what I need to do to nurture this, where this seed is in this ground, that I will get something. And like Matthew 13, 31, 32 talks about, planting a seed as small as a mustard seed, which is the smallest seed you can have, can reap you benefits beyond anything you can imagine, as big as a tree, right? Mustard seed grows to a tree. Most things are just going to be planted and plants grow. But no, it grows to a tree, and it's the smallest seed. So literally, if you are going to have faith the size of a mustard seed, then you can see things come that you are looking for in your life. So literally, you need to be making sure that you are doing things that are going to continue to move you in the right direction with where you were putting your time. Like, remember last week we talked about it, being that you plant on good soil. You've got to be clear that it's good soil so that you can see something come, so that there are nutrients there that'll help whatever it is that you've planted grow. And so in real terms, we're talking about like your relationship, right? You've got to be good about the things that you do in your life, your relationship with God. We talked about this perpendicular thing, right? So you're getting and you're giving, making sure that the places that you're giving are good soil. So putting in the time to ask God to give you the place that you should be putting your time, your energy, your love, your money, your anything, so that when you do give, you're giving to the right places, the places that God's intended, those places that are good soil. And then the key is having faith that that thing is going to pay off for you in the way that God is going to bless you, in other words. And I caution you not to think about everything in terms of it being that you're going to receive back what you did, because that's not how it works all the time, right? It just doesn't. I think about it. I am not an outdoorsman, okay? So don't quote me on this, but I'm almost positive that I've seen this actually, so I can speak to this. If you take the seed out of a pepper, like a red pepper, a green pepper, or any kind of pepper, and you reseed those seeds and you water them, when they come back, more than likely they are green. You're going to get a green pepper. It doesn't matter what color seed, no, where the seed came from, whether it was a yellow or a red pepper. More than likely, I've seen this happen where literally they cut open a red pepper, planted the seeds, and then green peppers grow. So that's to say, like, even though it might not look the same, it might not be what you planted. It's still on good soil, and it's going to reap you a harvest, because regardless, the peppers are coming. And so even in this season of your life, as you are, in high school, or you're in college, or you're a professional, you need to be sure of the time, the energy, the love, again, the money, where you spend those things is important. And so don't let it be that you are just being like the farmer we talked about at the beginning, who was just throwing stuff everywhere, and it ending up on rocky ground or thorny ground. Like good seed, good soil, so that you can reap the harvest of that good soil. And having the faith to believe that it's going to happen is the part, because it's hard when you are seeing dirt and nothing coming. That's an analogy, right? In other words, when you've done the right thing, you sought God, you said, Lord, what is it that you want me to do? Where do you want me to spend my time, my money, my energy, my love? And you're not seeing anything in return for that. You're like, wait, am I supposed to just believe? Yes, you're supposed to just believe, because you got to know that God is working that thing out, whatever it is. So you imagine, like, I don't know how many of you have seen videos of what, like, they show you what's happening underground when you've planted a seed. Like there's things that happen, like roots are growing, or, the plant is slowly coming up through the dirt until you can see it start to come out. And then you get to see the fruit or the vegetable or whatever it is that it produces. You get to see it like visually. That's when you don't need faith, because it's there. But when you planted that seed and you got to wait on that seed to really just come out of the ground and show itself or whatever, not only do you have to wait on the plant to come out of the ground, and you got to wait on it to grow tall enough and big enough to have these whatever it's producing, to give it time to grow. That's faith. That's where faith lives. In that time when you're waiting, in that time when you don't see anything before it starts to come up, even when it comes up and you still don't see anything that you can take off, the fruit, the produce, the thing that you can use. Even in that moment, it's faith. So practically, what you can do is, in those moments when you might be waning and you're like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right, I don't know if I did the right thing. Sometimes that's when we're like, did I plan in the right place? It's having a conversation with God. I always talk about this, and we probably should have like a whole conversation about prayer, because honestly, people try to make prayer this big, I got to use all these big words. I got to say a whole bunch. God just wants a relationship with you. He just wants to hear from you. It's just having real conversation. If you heard my conversation with God, it's no different than me having a conversation with, say, my best friend. It literally isn't. It's like, God, listen, this is my niece, but so she always says, this is ghetto. She'll say stuff like that all the time. So just in those moments, you're like, this is messed up. And I don't know what's happening. And I really need you to come and talk to me, or I need you to show up, do something. He's listening. It doesn't have to be this fancy it doesn't. It's just you and him having a real conversation. That's all he wants, is to have a real relationship with you. So having a real conversation. So I implore you, that is it. In those moments when you are feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do. Is this really going to happen? Is this the way I should go? Is this like all of it? It is time to get in his face. It is time to pray. Um, and it's time. Here's another part of the faith thing, right? Because I had this conversation recently about faith and trust. Faith is what you can't see, right? And so literally it is believing that God will do what he said he would do with what you've given, what you've done, how you're living. It's believing that he will answer your prayers, right? And so when you are, as they say, walking in faith, sometimes that means it looks a little strange. Things don't, people might be looking at you like, what are you talking about? Or why are you? But you have to remain what they call steadfast. So not allowing anything to move you off of your spot, not allowing anything, you're just gonna believe him that what he said is gonna come to pass. Or what I've done was instructions from God. So I planted in that place. So I'm just gonna believe that that is going to produce for me. So I want you to, that's practically what you can do. You can have a conversation with God in those moments when you are waning in your faith, when you're feeling like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, just have a conversation with God. Trust him to do exactly what he will do, what we know he'll do, which is what's best for you. Um, and so I want you to just be real clear about when you're in those waiting periods, when you're in that place where you don't see anything happening. This is when faith is required. And I want you to please, please, please make that just a part of how you operate. I'm just going to talk to God in those moments. As soon as it hits, as soon as your doubt comes, as soon as you're feeling like, I don't know if I can do this, talk to God. And I hope this helps. And so we'll talk next week. Have a great rest of your week.